Hello, 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 and welcome to the Morning Wisdom Sessions with Sia Hlongwa. I am an activist in Johannesburg, South Africa, and I speak on human rights. I also do advocacy work and I create awareness about social justice issues in my country and beyond. Today, I invite you to be a part of the conversation in the Morning Wisdom Sessions today as we speak about following our dreams. I do believe that everyone has a dream. We all have an innate skill or talent or purpose that we all feel like we were built for. And some of us are even seeking for that, still pursuing it, still trying to find clarity, trying to find guidance, looking for inspiration on how we can find a more meaningful way to live our lives, trying to achieve a more impactful life. Well, I do believe that the true value in living on this earth is in giving and is in creating an impactful, joyful, graceful life that is full of gratitude and giving. And when we do invest ourselves in giving and being a source of light in our existence, we contribute better to humanity in general. And I do think that that is our true yearning in life, is to be part of the conversation that is giving back and uplifting others, motivating others, pushing others to be better. So with that said, what is your dream? And what are you doing with your life and your time and your skills in order for you to realize your best potential? Now, I know I probably say this more than anybody else in the space of motivation and inspiration, but I'm one of those people. I advocate for that because I believe that that is where true joy really comes from. I know that in a capitalist society, I know that in a world where our needs, they shout in this conversation louder than anything else, than any other conversation that we could possibly be observing. Money speaks. It speaks so loud that everything else gets drowned out in the noise. But I do think that there is an opportunity within that noise to find authenticity, to find, a meaningful, more humane way of looking at life and leading life in general. I always like to go back to my own personal examples, and I'd like to take this conversation home to my own experience of living out my dream. And I was raised by my grandmother, Sybil Sbongile the late. She was a matron in a hospital called the King Edward Hospital in Durban, KwaZulu-Natal. She raised me in a huge township called Umlazi. And my grandmother was a very strong believer in sort of being stern, being a disciplinarian. But in her disciplinarian ways, I believe she was particularly soft on me. She allowed me to break all the rules. She allowed me to reinvent the rules to, fully be able to express myself and live out my best. And I believe that it was through her that I was able to chase my dreams. And unfortunately for me, I know a lot of other people have found that their dream is very rigid and particular. My dreams tend to shift according to my phase of development in my life. And I found that as a child, I would like to draw, I'd like to sketch and even write poetry to express myself. And she did what she could with what she had to make sure that I was able to do that and pursue those ambitions. So much so that I would spend days locking myself in my room without coming out. And my grandmother would be so concerned. She thought that maybe I had, some kind of social anxiety or mental illnesses or depression, etc. But it was never that. I was just driven to follow my dream. And I think that that is part of what is necessary for anyone who actually has a dream that they are pursuing and actively, hoping to achieve. Now, for me, it was using my drawings as a channel of expressing myself as a person, but also to just put in all my blood, my sweat, my energy into pieces of work so that I could make my mark. I felt as though that was my world. That was my one platform that I had to show my best and showcase all my colors in the vast array and spectrum that I do have to express myself through. And my art was my channel. It was my playground. And I used to do self-portraits. I would use Indian inks, technical pens, and I loved particularly the style of pointillism in my art. I'll try and drop a couple of my pieces in the comments so that people can actually see the work that I used to do. But I started off in art as something that I didn't really take very seriously until I met this wonderful art teacher by the name of was it Julia Roberts, I believe, Miss Roberts. We used to call her Miss Roberts in school, and she was very encouraging. I don't think that she was very forceful in the way in which she taught us. She just taught us the skills, and it was up to us to take out the time to practice until we could hone our skills. I never quite had the patience, to be honest, to sit down and practice how to draw and practice how to use the materials and get the kind of detail and excellence and, quality that my art teacher really wanted us to achieve. But what really, really struck for me a spot, really kind of started the trajectory of my artworks being particularly, of quality and of particular impact, was my peers, my classmates. I would create these artworks. I'd put them up on obviously the board. As soon as you complete your artworks, the teacher would expect you, when you submit your artwork, for you to place it in front of the class, and the whole class gets a chance to view what you've done and sometimes even to comment. Now, my art pieces were terrible initially. They were absolutely atrocious. Even though I enjoyed doing it, I never quite followed any rules. I was never someone that even researched on what other artworks looked like and what other artists did. I just expressed myself in my own unique way without, doing research and assessing and comparing myself and trying to learn different techniques in order to hone my skill and upgrade my ability of execution and the quality of my work. So by that same token, my work was a little bit substandard, I would say, lack of structure, lack of appreciation of observation of light and how to render that in the different materials that I used. So anyway, with that said, what really worked for me was my peers. My peers never liked my work because obviously the quality was not so good. And I was offended. I was offended to the T. And that was my fuel that really motivated me to go back home, to try harder, to research how to do what I was doing better. And I invested more time, more energy into what I was doing. And I believe that it was in those times when I would be so offended. Each time I'd submit an art piece, people weren't happy with the standard. I'd go back, try and fix it again, resubmit. And I got to a point where I was actually getting 100% for my art pieces. And by the end of my matric year, I believe I had 97% for art. And for me, that was really inspiring because when I think that at the very beginning of my journey in taking up art as a subject in high school, I was not that good, but I believe that over time, through practice, through focus, and through also judging myself and using mentors, using the mentors like Raphael Sanzio, like oh my word, there's so many, Michelangelo, Picasso, there's so many different, masters in the field of art. That sort of inspire and guide us as artists, in the different styles, where we could look at the manner in which the artist, or rather the technique in which the artist renders pieces. And we can use that as inspiration to inform how we structure and package our expression in art. Anyway, so with all of that experience of learning that, whenever you do something, it's not necessarily perfect the first time you do it. And being able to be vulnerable and allow yourself to be influenced and guided, by people that are excellent at what you want to do, and using them as almost like a blueprint to superimpose over your work so you can consistently be in a a conversation, so to speak, even if not necessarily speaking physically, even if you're looking at someone's work online or listening to someone's work, etc., or looking at examples of someone's work online, you can still actively take the time to learn from those techniques, pick up pointers, and take notes on how you yourself can improve and upgrade, and even creatively borrow and improve and upgrade and develop what someone else has done. And I believe that that is the creativity. That is where the magic really lies, in being able to do more than just copy, being able to do more than just borrow, but to take influence and inspiration from somebody else's work, take that and color it with your own personality, stain that with your own perspective. And I think that that's where the dynamism, the complexity, and the mastery really comes from. Now, my dream at the time when I was growing up as a kid was my art. And I invested my time in my art, and eventually I started getting high marks at the end of matric. That wasn't the end of the journey. I started winning art prizes in different competitions and doing exhibitions in different countries. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed getting a chance to do exhibitions and win competitions and get different titles. But it was never about that for me. It was about getting my artworks to be what I wanted them to be and have the kind of impact in terms of visual legibility and being able to follow the principles of art, but express the form and the image and the quality in the way that I really wanted to express it. And I had a lot of fun doing that. And I feel like my art became my blueprint for other areas of my life as well. And I believe that that is the true essence of what being able to follow your dream is all about as well, is that it gives you toolkits, little sort of golden nuggets that you can apply across the board in different challenges and obstacles that you face in your life to sort of find an ideal dream in every problem and how you want to, imagine a path out of the darkness to the solution that you seek, and start step by step, no matter how little, no matter how lost you might feel in a particular situation, or an obstacle is in your way and you're unable to see a way out. Your dream, your goal, your target is only reachable if you can only imagine that yes, there is hope for a better solution, a better reality, and only you can imagine that through your ability to allow yourself to dream and find a solution, find a way, and start acting toward where you want to be.